I'm sorry, I think we need to wait. Something's happened to my system down here. I do apologize. I've lost everyone. I'm sorry, I think we need to wait. Something's sorry, Makasha. Did we go live or did we not?
We are live.
We are live. Okay, sorry about that. I had a problem on my side. I couldn't enter the screen at all. Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the delay and apologies for the disruption just now. Okay, thank you all for attending this morning. Welcome to today's hearing to vary a premises license. My name is Councillor Amajit Jemu and I shall be chairing the meeting. My colleagues, Councillor Ahmed and Councillor Gallant, and I comprise of today's subcommittee meeting. Alison Luff is the legal advisor to the subcommittee. Mikasha Grant is the Democratic Services Officer, who is the clerk to the subcommittee, who will be minuting the meeting. In accordance with the procedure, I shall invite the applicant to present the application, answer any questions, and call any witnesses. I will also invite those who have made representations to make their representations, answer any questions, and call any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and the committee Democratic Services Officer, will retire to consider its decision. The decision will be given at the end of the meeting, around 1:30, and confirmed in writing forthwith. If the panel cannot reach a decision today, you'll be working days. I will now ask all those present to introduce themselves apart from the panel, please.
Good morning, Chair. It's Sergeant Dimitri Kassar here from the Metropolitan Police.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Mimi Stupa from the Noisy Nuisance team.
Thank you. Suganathan Bala.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Suganathan Balachandran, so I'm the applicant.
You're the applicant. Are you representing yourself, or is there
Yes,
somebody?
I am. Yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you very much. And okay, if that's the case, I've explained the procedure to you. I am now going to. I do apologize. I have a slight issue with my eyes this morning. Now going to invite the licensing officer to, oh, we don't have a licensing officer to introduce the application, I was going to say, which is not the case. So, Alison, if that's the case, we go straight to the applicant.
That's right, Chair. Yes, you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Gunther, please go ahead and present your case.
I'm sorry, I just turned off the video because of the bandwidth issue. So just to make it much clear, otherwise it might be the interrupted the signal. So well, I applied for a full license because basically I'm an IT professional. So I was working for a defense organization and quit my job and came to the business with the big dreams. So I was working with the previous owner of this premises, I mean the business owner, and 2 years before I purchased this property, and recently I take over the business by investing a big amount. So we already have a license from 8 o'clock to morning 8 to 11 p.m. Monday to Saturday, and Sunday from 10 to 10:30 p.m. But I'm expecting, because of there are so many shops at the moment open nearby, and you guys granted permission for many shops. Almost 7 premises got licensed at the moment. So there's a business difficulties I'm struggling to manage. So that's the main reason, because of the profit margin also down 50%. And there are, the current financial crisis also one of the main reason for public is not spending that much money, and staff wages double. So there are so many circumstances. I have only choice to extend my hours of business in night. So that's my expectation basically. So I applied and I follow all the procedures correctly, and advertised 28 days on the premises main shutter and the main window, and advertised on the newspaper as well. But unfortunately, I got 2 representation from council officers and a police department. So I need to clarify a few things, because my expectation to continue my business, because if I don't have that extended hours, then I will really struggle to continue the business, honestly. So Mr. Joseph Pearson, so he mentioned few of the points why he's representing my application. He put particularly, he said 24 hours of off-license premises will attract not just public nuisance, but crime and disorder this area. So I couldn't convince that. And there are some other few points also he mentioned. He's continuing. It is close to Central Line station and operating 24-hour service. But that's not really true, because the Central Line is 24 hours, but not for this branch. So it's from Ealing to Epping destination only is 24 hours. And the last train from West Ruislip to Epping destination will be at 12 o'clock, and 12:02 is the last train. So it is not 24-hour service. That's the first point. And if I agree, so he mentioned that if I agree even an hour extension, other business will follow the suit as well. So again, it is not the case, honestly, because there are some shops there behind our properties, 257, I believe, they close by 9 o'clock. And there's another property, 255, the Western Union Board is there, and they are closing their business by 8 o'clock. And they can legally or lawfully, they can request license up to 12 o'clock as a core hours, or 11:30, Monday to Thursday. But they didn't request, because everybody's not ready to do the business night. So whoever is able to do only, they can do it. And we can't expect everybody is interested to do it 24 hours. So I could not accept this point also again. So the third point he mentioned, I'm entitled to a temporary event notice, which I can use during the busy season and the long weekend, for which you can and get in touch with the licensing team. So what he's trying to say, the temporary event and long weekend period, so we can run more hours, and that will not create a crime or something like that. So I could not accept that point also fully. And particularly, he mentioned one of the last point, the street drinking. Obviously, street drinking is not only in Greenford, it's in all over the London, and it's in England and everywhere. So street drinking, I can say particularly on Friday, I have an experience also. That's why I particularly mentioned that one, because the last 7 years I was working with these guys also as a partner of the business. And 2 years before I purchased a property, and I started the upstairs property as the service accommodation. So on Friday, especially, there are a group of the few employees after finish their work, and the friends that they get together, and it is not in the premises areas, and they are in the off premises areas, like you need a drive on the road, and they get together, and they are not really causing any public nuisance or anything. And in 2 years before, even I reported to the council saying, because those days this property was closed, and the people were living, they're standing on the alleyway area, and they were doing they were drinking. I mean, they are not drinking actually, so I cannot say that exactly, but they were staying over there, and they're friends. They meet together. But one day I reported the council, but council didn't make any action against that. And then I politely, the second week also I was waiting, and third week I politely told to those guys, this is the service accommodation I'm using for the public to renting. And if you guys are blocking this area, there might be some problem and they are getting some complaints. So please, can you leave? It's a polite request. I requested, and they're happy to leave it. And from that point, and they are not coming to that corner. So there's a way to prevent the public nuisance or the difficulties. It's not the meaning that we can block the person's business, or we need to reduce the number of hours of running the business. So that is not the only way. So the police constable, Vicky Harrison, also representation. He also represented a few of the points, but I could not again satisfy with that.
Okay.
He mentioned the current premises license has no restrictions, ABV, no minimum amount of cans, and can sell miniatures. So would be extremely appealing to street drinkers 24 hours a day. So what he is trying to say, if my license is already having a restrictions, he's happy to grant a license. So that's what I can understand from this sentence. So, and the second point, if the miniatures is or the cans are allowed, not allowed, so whoever is drinking, they can drink the sprit also, the cheapest sprit also available. So it's not the meaning that because the street drinkers always causing the nuisance, and that is not one of the main reasons we can. We cannot take it as a. I mean, this point is not really convincing me. And secondly, he mentioned it would encourage the street drinkers because of this reason. But as I mentioned, so I'm not really convinced with this sentence. And the third line he mentions, the drunk people returning from the night out would be able to stop and buy more alcohol from these premises. What is that really? So because the drink people returning from the night out, it's 12 o'clock is the last train. If they want to drink alcohol, and they can go anywhere and they can buy it in the Tesco is available, and some nearby other places also they can buy it, or they can bring the alcohol, or they can order it online. That's 24 hours is permitted, and they can order it and they can drink it. It is not necessarily they need to come to our shop to buy it. And there's a licensing objectives we agreed, and we will not sell to the drunk people. So obviously we're protecting that one also. So that point is not really convincing me. Again, the people will urinate in the street or down the alley, which is next to the premises, and will have the negative impact to the residents. At the moment, I'm doing a renovating the property, and I'm going to move to the property soon once it's over. And I have 3 kids. Do you think I will really happy if the people are urinate this area? And definitely not. And I'm going to have multiple cameras, and I already sent the evidence of the powerful cameras what I purchased, and I'm using this one. And at the moment the renovation is going on, another 3 weeks time we will reopen the business, and by the time when we open it, and everything will be perfectly managed, and the lights also, the bright lights also will be in the alleyway area, and definitely we will protect that area, and we will not allow the people to misuse that area, because it's our resident area, and I'm going to stay there as well. And they mentioned the police, finally a point mentioned, the police have no confidence that the management of the premises will be able to operate promoting the licensing objectives. So I already clearly mentioned the promoting the licensing objective, many objectives over there, and how we are going to protect it. And I have to ask a question. I have a question in my mind. How many crimes reported after 10 p.m. in last 1 year? I Googled the same question and I found 2 answers. One is in Evening Standard, and Evening Standard says it happened in 2016, and another one is in 2015. Last 8 years, I didn't get any evidence that there's any serious crimes or anything happened. But maybe you might have some the minor statistics, but I don't have it. But I can say clearly, this increasing these hours will not encourage the people to street drinkers, and particularly after 10 o'clock, that the road is damn quiet. So the people waiting for the buses, and once the bus comes, and again the road is completely quiet. So as I say, all the information is above, and the one more additional information I need to say that only the council officers and the police reported or opposed to my application, but there's no public restriction. The public reported against my application. We already advertised a certain period and advertised in the newspaper in the front of the door also, but we didn't get any representation from the public. That means the public is welcoming this idea really. So that's really good. Even I was struggling when I was working in the night shift and the early days when I was as a student. And when I returned back home, all the shops are closed. It's very inconvenient to get the shopping. So if I have if I have a shop over there, the opening in night time, and that will be really convenient for the public. So I believe the public is really welcoming this idea to have his opening this hour, the extended hours. So I'm kindly requesting you to please consider my application, and if you are not really permitting, or as I mentioned previously, the business is completely the 50% of the business is down, and the profits are 50% margin down again, the wages are 50% high. So I have only option to close my business. And if we are not doing any business in the night time, then there's no option to, there's no possibilities to improve or increase the night economy boost. So obviously, please consider my application, and please grant my application for my 24 hours
Thank
request to
you.
open the shop. Thank you.
Thank you, Suganthan. Suganthan, I'm sorry, can you please put your, as you're the applicant, can you please put your camera on so
Yeah,
that,
sure. Okay, if there are any difficulties or stuck with the video, please let me know so I can post my
yes, but
video.
please keep it on. Thank you
Sure.
very much. Okay, thank you. Right, is there anything else you wanted to add to what you've already said, or?
Well, I think that my request is kind request is to grant my application, consider my application, and the information, whatever you, I mean, the council representation, or the nuisance team and police representation, I could not convince, because I already told you the reasons, whatever the reasons, I already clearly mentioned that, and I'm really happy with because I deal with the people nicely 2 years before, and they listen, and street drinking is not an issue in that area, and you guys are mentioning, as I mentioned, so the street drinking is everywhere in all over the London, and it is not. I didn't, last 7 years I was working in this place, and I didn't heard any the serious crime or any crime happen in this area, and especially after 9 o'clock is very quiet in this area. So that's what I can say, because I'm local resident in that area.
Thank you, Suganthan. Okay, I am now going to put it out for questions from. I've got Councillor Gellant who's put his hand up. Please ask away.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Suganthan, for the presentation. Can you hear me? Just checking. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes, please.
I couldn't hear anybody there. I don't know if
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can. Yes. Okay. Great.
Yes. Yes.
Suganthan, thank you very much. You've asked for, obviously, the 20. You've gone into the drinking side of things, but you've also asked for late night refreshments on a 24-hour basis. Now, what I'm going to ask you is what you're planning to serve, how you're planning to serve it, and where you're planning to serve it within your premises or outside your premises. And also asking you who your potential clientele would be. So this is late night food, who you're planning to sell it to. Okay.
Yes.
The other question is, just I think you're obviously the manager of the shop. You're the DPS. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
You're the creator. Just let us know how long you've been doing that for, please. Just how long you've actually been doing that. I wasn't quite clear about that.
Sure.
And I've got a question. I've got a question about the hours. You've obviously asked for very extended hours. Are you able to? Would you be able to accept eventually? Some kind of extension, but not the kind of 24-hour thing that you've asked for.
Thanks for your questions. Yes, I'm happy to answer for your questions. Well, as I mentioned previously, so I was working in the same place, the same premises with the previous partner for 7 years, even if I'm an IT professional. So I was part-time. I was working with these guys, and I was a partnership business with him. So 7 years of experience, I have it. Of course, my DPS is just only started because the recently 2 years before I applied for this, and because I was having a plan to convert into my completely, I want to take over the business. So that's the reason I applied for that.
How long have you been DPS managing DPS?
Almost 2 years now.
Thank you very much. Okay, so can you talk about the late night refreshment?
Sure. Well, you asked me who is the potential client. So mainly all the customers, all the local residents, plus that particular area is close to the railway station, and there's a HS2 work is going on. There are many HS2 workers are working 24 hours, and they also there are some restaurants or the chicken shops and other pizza shop also recently open, and there are some reasonable clients come to that business, obviously. So I believe if I am doing a pasties type of thing, so especially some frozen or even the pasties in the late night, so I believe there's a good business and a good the customers also will be happy to have more the food varieties of food. So that's also one of the idea at the moment. So that's the main reason I'm extending the property for 8 meters behind, so making the properties a little bigger also. And we are serving outside, so there's no any seat or anything to eat from inside the business premises, because it's a quite smaller the wide wise. So we are selling in outside, so they can take it and they can the self-service, and they can collect it and go outside and eat. So that's a plan. Yeah, as I mentioned, so local residents plus the night the workers, whoever's working there, or they finish their work and come to home. So that's a plan, actually. That's the expectation. And you asked me about the extended hours, not even 24 hours. Well, I can consider that, obviously, because if I respect the representation also, and I don't really want to have a harsh argument with that. And I want to do a business like the 24 hours opening business, but I can put a shutter for the, I mean, the 24 hours opening for the business, normal business. For the alcohol licensing, I can expect up to, even if you are giving me even up to 3 o'clock, that's absolutely fine. And I can put a shutter, and I'm doing a renovation with the front counter, with the night counter. I mean, the front shop front, I'm making with the counters, a night counter. So after out of hours, or if there are any difficulties, then we can serve through the night counter if it is possible, if it is really required. Or and I will put a shutter in front of the alcohol license, alcohol chillers or alcohol areas. It's like a petrol stations are managing in a similar way. So we will do, because that's also one of the point. Once this conference is completed, then I need to plan what I am going to do in that one. So certainly I can do it while I'm doing the renovation.
Thank you. Councillor Ahmed, over to you for questions.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Suganthan, you said earlier in your statement that you were suggested to apply for TENs over the long weekends and on some busy periods, but you were not convinced with that. What do you mean by that? You were not convinced?
What suggested, it is from Mr. Joseph Pearson's one of the comments. He mentions, I am entitled temporary event notice. So he said you can entitle to temporary event notice, which you can use during the busy season or long weekend, for which you need to get in touch with the licensing team. So what is my point is, so what he's saying, he's allowing me to do the extended hours in the temporary event period or the long weekend. So my question, how that will prevent, that will not cause, if you are saying, so you are denying the license is denied because of these reasons, and you're saying so the long hours will increase the crime and encouraging the street drinking people. So my question, so if you are allowing that particular period, how that is also similar way, that is also basically you are accepting, yes, you can open the shop, and if there any there's a possibility to happen crime, even if you are allowing me to operate in the seasonal weekend. So if you are allowing that point in that particular situation, and why can't you allow me to run the business with long hours? So that's my question. I didn't.
Okay, I think you did not understand what TENs are. TENs are there to give you a couple of days of them doing the business, and that gives you an opportunity to demonstrate that there is no issues while you are opening late hours. So it would have gone in your favor if you had taken TENs and demonstrated. It's not for a longer period, it's only for 1 or 2 days. And that is why the suggestion was made, but I don't think you understand that properly, what 10 means.
Yes, I got the point. I got the point, obviously. But my worries is, if you are saying that particular days, I can, for example, I can run the business up to 24 hours, that particular days, for example. And that is also will cause, if you are saying that public nuisance will cause because of this extended hour, then that particular day also will cause. So that's my argument. But I don't really want to argue in that point. I'm really happy to avoid that, because that is not my expectation, honestly. So I just point out that point only.
And when you are saying selling food outside, can you tell precisely what do you mean by that? Are you putting a stall outside? Are you manufacturing something outside? What does that mean, putting food outside?
No. Food means it's the cooked food actually. So the hot food, and outside means we don't have any table inside the store or inside the shop, and the people have to buy it and they had to take it outside like a same alcohol way. Alcohol they had to outside only they can eat or drink.
Like what cooked food?
The pasties. So it's like, for example, it's a chicken pasties or beef steaks pasties or something like that. The cooked food,
Okay.
oven baked.
Thank you. That's over, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. So Ganthan, I've also got you talked about an extension at the back. Is that something that you already have, or is that something that you're proposing?
No. Already the work is started. Already work is started.
What's the purpose for the extension?
Making the property is a little bigger. The reason because it's a very narrow, because there's a flying free. The property is a flying freehold. There's an alleyway also taken some of the space of the property width. So it's around 4 meters only wide, and there's a staircase also comes inside the property. So it's taking much space. So what we are doing, we got a permission from the council to extend the property behind around 8 meters and making the staircase straight. And because the early days, the width of the property is 4 meters and the depth of the property is around 8 meters only. So it's quite small one. So that's the main reason. So we need to extend this.
Okay, thank you, Sagantan. Right, are there any other questions?
Well, I'm absolutely fine because I already told you about what is my
sorry,
requirement.
sorry, Sagantan, I wasn't asking you. I was asking if there were any other questions from my colleagues and the team here.
None from me for the moment, Chair.
Chair, you need to ask the police and the noise nuisance if they have any questions.
I was going to come to those. Yes, thank you, Chair. Okay, I am now going to invite the responsible authorities. I'm going to invite the police to have your say now. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, panel, and the applicant. Just a quick question. In terms of the late night operating hours that you have requested for, who will be staffing that?
Good. Well, I am one of the main person, as I mentioned. So I quit my IT profession and just coming. So most of the time is in night time. I will be there because I am the DPS. So I need to handle that one, and I need to find another DPS. Also, is already my wife also planned to apply for that one, and at the same time we will apply because I'm the single person cannot manage all 7 days. So I'm recruiting some other new staff also.
Okay, thank you. And for my follow-on question from that is, during the course of if a license were to be granted for the longer hours, how many people would you have present working at that time?
Well, minimum 2, because I know the difficulties of running a single person. There will be some more crimes possible. So minimum 2, but there was a possibility to have more than 2 people because we are going to serve the hot food also. So minimum 2 is all the time.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of, you said you've placed CCTV in the actual business. Is that correct? So if an incident were to occur within the environment, your premise, what, and police were called, would there be people who would know how to operate the system and offer CCTV at that moment in time? Because my experience as an officer on the street for 16 years is quite often when we do go to an establishment such as yours, and I'm not saying you're one of these people, whenever we do ask for the CCTV, either the DPS is not available at the time, or the person who is on the premise doesn't know how to operate the CCTV, and then it curtails an investigation should an allegation of any violence or crime and disorder occur. So my question to you is, will you be offering your staff training on the CCTV system, and would they be able to offer police or whoever requires for an investigation the relevant evidence?
Definitely, yes. Well, I'm an IT professional. I mentioned that previously also many times. So I'm the one is fixing all these things, and I know how to access it and all. And I will, because this is an advanced devices, I am going to fit it, and then remotely also I can control it and manage it. and especially I will train a couple of people, especially some responsible people, to assist the police officers. And at the same time, I also can help remotely, and I'm going to move to my premises above the property, so obviously that's also possible. And at the same time, I'm currently living in North Old. That's only 5 minutes driving to the shop, so it's also not a problem. So anytime I can be there.
Okay, thank you, Suganthan. And then another question I have for you is, in terms of if you had drunk punters or clients or street drinkers, or as you mentioned, workers who come at the end of the day and purchase alcohol, my question to you is, do you have any form of a dispersal strategy? Will your staff or yourself be trained in some form of conflict management? Would you be able to do that, or is that something you've considered?
Well, I already have an experience in when I was a student. I was working in the petrol stations. Also, this is a very common issue in A40 road petrol stations. Mainly, it's a very busy area, and nighttime. I was doing a night shift also, so I know how much difficulties I face. And we are having all the the same things. I will follow it. There's paperwork and all the evidence collections and reporting these things, because even if there are any issues comes, and we are reporting, and we will all definitely will follow all the procedures.
Okay, and then with regards to the beers that you sell, my understanding is you've got beers of all levels. Is that right? In terms of the strength of the alcohol you
Yes.
sell?
Yes.
Okay, where for the late night essence, and I believe, as you've said, you having an extension done to the back of the premises, where will that be kept, and how will that be managed for late nights?
Yes, I already mentioned that one. So the late night after the out of hours, so once I got the full opening hours access, and suppose if you are granting me access up to 3 o'clock for the license, alcohol license, then we plan to put a shutter in front of the shop. Sorry, not in the front of the shop. It's in the front of the chiller, and nobody can access that one. Completely locked. It's
All
out
right.
of the hours. Yes.
Okay. That's it from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you,
Excellent
Suganthan.
questions there.
Thank you.
Mimi, over to you. Do you have any questions for Suganthan?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to ask the applicant with regards to public nuisance, and how is he going to manage that? For example, if, let's say, a group of 10 friends, they come back from a night out and they stop there 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, they're being loud, and let's say one goes into the premises to buy more alcohol and the other friends just loiter outside the premises being loud. How is he going to address that? Because that's our main concern when it comes to public nuisance, especially late at that time. As you're aware, there are a lot of residents nearby their flats above those premises, facing the main road. So just want to know, how is he going to address that?
Well, last 7 years I was there, and most of the time we didn't come across this kind of issues. And sometimes especially in Christmas period, it's getting dark early, and few situations happen. A couple of incident happened like that, but in that case, and there's no point of arguing or fighting, so we need to get rid of the problem, and smoothly we had to handle it, and we had to talk to the people politely, and we had to get rid of them as soon as quickly. So that's what we did, and we will that's what we did already, and we will follow the same thing, and we will politely talk, and we will sort out the problem in a way of politely, without having any harsh arguments.
I appreciate that, but as you know, when people are intoxicated and you have a license, the current license it's not until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So people, after they had a bit of alcohol, they behave in a different way. I do appreciate your comments that you've only managed this during, let's say, not so late hours. So that's my main concern. How are you going to deal with that? And what if it happens on a daily basis, or what happens every weekend? Those residents are not going to be happy to have to listen to people shouting and screaming outside the premises. I do have another question for you. You mentioned earlier that that no other premises in the area are going to apply for a late license if this, for example, this license is going to be granted. And you made reference to 2 other businesses that they close at 8 and 9 p.m. if your business is struggling, like you said, and you're already opening later than they are, what makes you think that your business is going to be more profitable after midnight or 1 if those businesses are not operating? So what's stopping? What do you think is going to help you later on and not between 8 and midnight like you have?
Well, about the second question, so you asking, so why they cannot request to extend the hours? And as I mentioned previously, there's three examples actually. So station convenience, one of the shop with the station, and they close at 8 o'clock. And another people, they are behind our properties, 259, I believe. They also close by 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And one of the properties closing through 2 to 5, they close by 8 o'clock. And Sundays is 7 o'clock. So if they want to increase their business, and they might already applied for up to 12 o'clock for Monday to Thursday, because it's a core hours, and they didn't do that one. So that's what I make that point that's very strongly. Everybody is not really ready to run the business in the night shift, and that's very hard. But I came out of my business and I'm going to do a business in this way, so not from the IT business to this way. So that's the reason I'm really happy. Okay, I'm happy to focus on this business, and I can and I'm going to be above the property also, so that's much convenient for me and I can do it. But we cannot expect everybody will do that and everybody will be happy to do
I
it. So
appreciate. Let me interrupt you for a second. I appreciate that, but my point was, you were saying that your business, the reason why you have applied for these extensive hours is because your business is struggling. Because
yes.
And you mentioned that the council has, well, we've approved all these licenses for other premises nearby, but you just said that these premises are not operating until 11 or until the time you're closing. So why do you think, what makes you think that if you open if you open 24 hours, it's going to bring a profit, if those businesses are already closing at 7, 8 p.m.?
Well, there are some night customers, obviously, because the night closing time, 11 o'clock, there will be more customers comes and rushing us, and we cannot violate the law, and we have to stop selling them after 11 o'clock. Particularly that particular closing time, they will be rushing the people. So that's a main targeting customer for us. Even that's a main targeting customers for the and late night, for example, 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock. As you mentioned, there might not be a big business in that period time because it's too late. But still, there are some people, these are 24 hours buses going on the road for Heathrow and Ealing Hospital. So we're expecting some people definitely will work in the night shift from the Ealing Hospital or the Heathrow, and they will pass over. So they might, most probably they might come. So obviously that will help us to improve our business demand.
Okay, thank you. And going back to my initial question,
Oh yes.
how would you prevent that, and what measures are you going to put in place?
Yes.
You'll deal with the incident. Let's say we have an incident, but you'll deal with it on the spot. But what if this happens all the time? How are you going to manage that? Are you going to have, and you also mentioned about your wife coming to help you, and it's just, how are you who's going to control the people, and what's going to happen if these things escalate?
Of course. Night shift, I'm not planning to have any ladies in the night shift, so that's not obviously possible. It's very risky for them. What is my point is, last 7 years I was there and we didn't come across any issues, something like that, the serious cases. And I didn't come across any other premises also face this kind of issues. And as you mentioned, there are some circumstances might happen in future, but it didn't happen. So based on the previous statistics, I believe that will not happen. And if they are, in case if anything happen, and we will use our the previous experience and all, we will handle managing the people to cool down, and we will, as much as possible, we will clear the customers with whatever they are expecting, or even if we are getting some lost or something, and we will clear the issues without go to the public support like a police or anything. So in case if it is a serious crime, then there's no option, so we need to call the police also. But I don't think we need to think on that way, because it didn't happen in the last 7 years. And
I appreciate that. As you know, my colleague addressed the crime and disorder issue. It's not necessarily, it might be crime and disorder, but it's more about antisocial behavior and people screaming and shouting outside your premises and disturbing the local residents. I'm addressing the minor stuff compared to what the police addressed earlier. And you've also mentioned about the late night refreshment, and you mentioned that you're going to serve which part of the premises is it going to be at the front of the premises, or?
It's at the front of the premises, yes. Only in the front of the premises.
Okay. And
there will be just a glass shelf. It's not a big refreshment area. It's just a glass shelf, maybe around 1 meter wide and 2 meter height. It's a hot food serving.
Okay, but inside the premises, because I think everyone got a bit confused with regards to when you said you were going to put it outside. So it's definitely inside the premises. You're not going to have a little table outside selling.
No, not definitely, because that's not our area. That's a council area. We can't. Yes.
That's what I want to clarify. And yeah, as I said, that my main concern is with regards to public nuisance, and you have that alleyway at the side of the premises as well, as you know, which gives, again, street drinkers, it gives opportunity for them to come in, buy a few drinks, and then loiter around the area and disturbing the local residents.
Sure.
You haven't provided any information how you're going to, and I appreciate you'll deal with it on the spot, but it's a tricky one when it comes to the hours, because as I said, people will be drunk and they will not listen at 3-4 o'clock in the morning when they want to buy more alcohol.
Well, I appreciate it for your concerns, and I will, as I mentioned, so I'm doing the renovations. Once I complete the renovation, please come and visit the place, and you can definitely get satisfaction, because I'm going to have multiple cameras in the side views and alleyway area, and nobody, because if there is no light only, it will encourage the people to go to the urinated area or the make it clean or unclean. So if I'm having a clean, the full light, the clear view and the camera protection, so at least some preventions, warnings, then the people they will not intend to do any crime on that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm not talking about crime. I'm talking about public nuisance. I'm talking about people screaming and shouting, which those people will not care if they get captured on the camera. Yes, people committing crime, they will be hopefully. They'll be determined to go away, to leave the premises or the area if they see a CCTV camera. But I'm talking about people just loitering and screaming and shouting. That's my main concern.
Okay, as I mentioned previously, so I'm pretty sure the people are not really, the local residents and the people, whoever the regular customers, whoever come to that area. So as I mentioned, that 2 years before, I advised them, I just only requested them to leave the premises, and happily they left. And I didn't even argue, or I didn't even shout with them, or I didn't do anything. Just simply I told them, and they understand. So I believe in the developed society, and they understand the way of whatever we are requesting, and they are following that.
Okay, thank you. You also mentioned that your premises is quite small. How many people would you say, for example, if there's a massive group of friends coming back from a night out on the 24-hour bus, what's the capacity, or can people stand in your premises, or is it quite small? I haven't been to your place.
Small means it's not narrow. Sorry, small means it's not narrow actually. It's a 4.4 meters wide. The usual shops are around 5.5 or 5 plus, but this one is a 4.4 meters. The reason, because it's a flying freehold, so some of the space left it for the alleyway, and the staircase also rotating way, it's existing one at the moment, so we already make it straight, so it's going to be a little wider. And the front area, there's a reasonable size of space, and we are having only one counter in one side and another chiller in front of this, a cold drink chiller. In between the counter and chiller, there's a 2.5 to 3 meters 2.5 meters gap is available, so it's a reasonable size of the space.
Okay, thank you. That's all for me from now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I do see some other hands up, but before I do that, Suganthan, I'd like some answers. How do you sell the beers at the moment? Are they in packs of 4? Do you sell them by the case? Do you sell them as single cans? And are they marked with your label, your name of the shop and the price on the individual cans? How do you sell? And do you sell mixtures?
Cans, we don't have any price, whatever the price marks comes, and we are selling that one. And we don't have any, it's like some of the bottles, the spirits, usually we are getting is a price mark spirits, and the cans are not expecting to, all the cans are not having any price mark, and it's very difficult to handle that one also. And we are not really printing any.
Sorry, Suganthan, that wasn't what I was trying to ask. Do you put in on your own price label there with your shop name? Do you put your own labels there?
The labels there, yes. It's in the bottom, not in a single can, but in the bottom, the price marks are, the prices are there.
Single cans?
Yes.
You do.
Yes.
And what sort of strength are the beers that you sell?
It's all alcohol. I mean, we have the full license, and we are selling even 6.0 also, and we are selling some strong beers also. The existing license is a full.
How strong are the strong ones? What strength are they?
I don't know exactly what is the size, the strength of that one, but we are selling a full strength. I think it's an 8.0 as well. I think it's 8.0 something. So I'm not really sure about that exactly. So how much is that? But the strongest one also, because we have the full license for that.
Okay. And miniatures. Do you sell miniatures as well, or is it?
We do miniatures as well. Yes, the sprit.
You do. Okay, thank you. I'm going to pass you over. Councillor Gallant has a question.
Thank you, Chair. Suganthan, can you just talk a bit about your night counter? You are definitely going to put in a night counter.
Correct.
How will that operate?
Yes, correct. Well, at the moment, we don't. We are doing the renovation, and we already placed a new front shop front. It's an automatic opening door, and there's a night counter from the counter area, where the counter is the left-hand side. There's a night counter windows, roughly around 30 centimeters, 30 by 30 or 30 by 40 is the space, and the side opening one. And we'll close that one. We got a door also for the site opening night counter.
Does that mean that somebody won't be able to come into the shop?
No, definitely not. It's because the size is a 30 by 40 only.
Yeah, so they'll have to be. They can only be served at the night counter outside the shop.
Outside, yes.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. That's what I wanted to know. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
So Suganthan, what time do you start using your night counter?
Well, I'm expecting to open the shop 24/7, and especially for example, what I mentioned. So for example, if you are granting my license for 3 o'clock up to 3 o'clock, and up to 3 o'clock, then we will put a shutter for all the alcohols.
Is that counter already in existence now, or is that what you're proposing?
No, I already paid for that one. Now the renovation is going on. It's going to be in 2 weeks' time.
Right.
Because at the moment the scaffolding is there, so once the scaffolding is removed, only we can place that one. So it's already ready. I already made the payment also.
Okay, thank you.
I can send you all the pictures if you want after finish it.
Thank you, Suganthan. Are there any other questions before I?
Sorry, Chair, can I quickly ask a question? Because now I'm a bit confused about this night counter.
Please do.
So I'd like to understand, so you're having this night counter and then people have to queue on the street, on the main road, on the main pavement?
The pavement, it's almost around 4.5 meters wide. It's a big
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the width of the pavement. I'm just worried about the residents living directly above this.
Correct. Yes. So using the night counter is not the priority option. That is not the primary option. So I'm trying to keep the shop open 24/7. And if the license is granted up to 3 o'clock, then after 3 o'clock, we plan to put a shutter to close the alcohol section, because the alcohol is not only the business. So if I'm running the business for 24/7, then obviously the customers will expect to get some other things also. So serving through the night counter is a little more work for the staff also. So we had to go and take one by one and serving the customers. So we will keep the shops open all the time, but in case in some circumstances, if it is a more dark or if there are any difficult situations come, so for example, if there are any as you mentioned previously, some difficulties or some arguments or a little bit of difficulties on some uncomfortable situation happened, then we might use that one. That is an option only. That's a second option only, but that is not the always I'm going to use that one.
I appreciate that, but there are also concerns when it comes to public nuisance. For example, if your customer would come to inside the premises, they wouldn't affect those residents living directly above as much as they would affect them by queuing outside on the pavement.
Yes, but the Greenford area is not as you are thinking. It's a too crowded area, obviously. So
you have residents that live directly above the parade of shops.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Where there are flats there.
Yes. As I mentioned, so that night counter is not the the option one. So that is this option 2 only. The mainly I want to have the shop open, because then only we can have more business.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair, may I interject as well? Is that all right?
Of course you can.
Suganthan, just touching on the late night sale of alcohol. I understand you have a full license and you're selling beers that are 6%, 8%. My concern from a crime and disorder aspect is, once people are inebriated or they've come back from a late night out in London and they arrive at midnight, as you've said, on the Circle Line, They will want, people at times will want to purchase more alcohol. In terms of your space within the shop, which I know you can't necessarily always legislate for, but when you get someone who is inebriated and they become obstructive, obstinate, difficult to deal with, that could in turn, from a public safety perspective, put your employee or you in danger. And my question to you is that I'm also aware that the S&T in that regard, whilst it's not massive crime, I am aware that street drinkers do loiter on the corners. So from that side of things, that then has a massive impact on the residents, because I've looked at the Google Maps of your premise. It's a parade of shops. There are flats up above. On the other side, there's another parade of shops and flats up above. Next to it, as you alluded, is a alleyway. Now, that alleyway, from, again, my personal policing experience, that can lead to some serious offences taking place there, especially when people are inebriated or drunk.
Correct.
My question to you is, at that moment in time, how are you going to deal with that? Because whilst I agree you want to sell hot food, etc., people will, they'll come across the counter, which I know often happens in your types of businesses. I'm not saying it's happened in yours, but I also am aware that you have said it hasn't happened in the 2 years you've been there. But the reality is, in the 2 years that you've been there, you haven't had a 24/7 shop. So therefore, you don't really know what it will be like if you were to sell alcohol up until 3 a.m. I am aware from other parts of the London Borough of Ealing Council, when we do have premises like this, antisocial behaviour does increase. Crime and disorder, it does impact. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a serious offence, but any form of violence can occur, especially when people are inebriated. So my question to you is, how would you deal with that?
Correct. I appreciate your concern about that residential issues, and I'm also one of the residents in that area very soon. Once the renovation is completed, that particular alleyway is only access for 4 houses, and it's not a very longer one, just only for 4 houses only, the 4 flats behind. And when I'm doing the renovation, the extension of the property, so we are going to have a completely fully light from the alleyway from start to end. So you can come and see that one after 3 or 4 weeks period later. So you're completely satisfied with that one. So as I mentioned, so if it is a dark, only the people will try to do the antisocial behavior. So if it is a fully light and camera fixed, and most of the antisocial behavior will be blocked by that one. And as you mentioned, yes, this is a central line, not circle line. That is not 24/7 actually. So 12 o'clock is the last train comes there, and the people will not come. Maybe some bus passengers might come the late night, like 3 o'clock or the early morning. But I'm pretty sure I already have experience, and based on that, I can manage all of these. And the camera is one of the main the prevention device we are going to use, plus the lights also is completely the light, because at the moment also you can see that's quite dark and there's no any light because it's a residence. So my side or the other side of the property is supposed to use the light, but I have one because I just recently purchased that one, and then I didn't do any renovation, so that's why I didn't have any new lights over there. So when I'm doing now, when I'm going to cover, because that's not safety for me, because my site entrance also, my entrance for the flat also the site entrance. So that's an alleyway, so we had to go through the alleyway to get into the property. So that is the risk for me also. So obviously I will I'm much concerned about that, and I will make it as much as protecting that area, definitely. And as you ask, some crimes or some antisocial behavior happen, and how do you will do that one? In my previous experience, I handle very politely, and the people are, as I mentioned previously, is a developed society. The people are really listening point. They are not really arrogant or arguing. But as you mentioned, so if they're drunk and they might be in a different mood and they might fight, and sometimes even if we are accepting some some lost, and we had to. Our main concern is to get rid of the problem. So we can't call the police all the time and disturbing them. So we need to get rid of the problem, and we had to talk to them nicely. And we need to, in future, if the same person is coming, obviously we will ban them to come to the shop because they already have some bad experience, and we will not serve the customer again in future. If we can, if the same customers comes again, and we will ban it. So we will do all these pre-measures, and we will get some pre-learning with the people, and based on the experience once we started. So maybe for the first 1 month might be all this problem is completely new, but after 1 month's time is completely we already used to for this one, so we can manage it.
Thank you, Suganthan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sergeant. Councillor Julian Gallant, he's put his hand up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Very briefly, thank you. Just not following on your point, I'm just wanted to ask Suganthan, would he accept a restriction or a condition that cans of beer could only be sold in 4s with a clear label from your shop?
I didn't understand the clear label in the sense. What do you mean?
Well, so you had a clear label stuck onto the bottom of one of the cans, or all of the cans, ideally. So it was clearly identifiable which shop sold that. And would you accept a condition that they were sold in groups of 4 minimum?
That's practically is very difficult for the beer cans, isn't it? Because the beer cans are moving faster, so it's a very practical point of view. So even if I am saying yes, and then practically it's very hard to manage individually. Every single can we had to put a label from this shop.
Suganthan, I'm going to stop you there. As a business person myself as well, I had an off license myself many years ago, and I can tell you, whoever is in charge, it's their responsibility to make sure that everything is priced. So what Councillor Gallant was trying to say to you was, can individual items be priced so that if we find a can somewhere else, we know where that can was purchased? That was what he was trying to ask you.
What I can do, what is possible, is like a price tag. So whenever we are putting the price, and we can say, so for example, my shop's name is a Harini Superstore. So the full name is very difficult to add as a big label. So maybe it's a Harini and the price number. So we can put that. That's possible. Every time when we put the price, the yellow tag, and we can put that one.
Yep.
Okay. Can I just ask another question? It may not be relevant, but it's something that's just bugged me. You said to me that you started the extension work, and everything is already going ahead, and yet your licensing hearing is today, and we are yet to decide how we're going to go about this. I mean, were you not preempting making a decision before you've even had your licensing hearing?
No, I already provided the new drawing based on the new extension plan, the new drawing with the new extension plan, plus the rest of the area is going to be the bigger storerooms, the backside of the storeroom.
Was that to the planning department, or is that what you're trying to say?
No. Yeah, we already got the planning permission, and I already attached the last mail I sent a couple of days before to share with your team, and the planning permission, approval planning permission also attached to that. So that's and some of the pictures about the current working the renovation process also I attached to that. And the planning permission, not only the planning permission, the council, how to call it's like a monitoring. So council monitoring. So regulations monitoring. So we already paid, and they come and checking all the renovation regulations also.
All right, thank you. So
that document was attached, yes.
I'm going to stop you there for a second. Makasha, my computer is asking me that it needs to restart now. In case we get cut off, it may take me a few minutes to get back in.
Okay.
And it will also mean that we'll have to leave the meeting and come back in if that happens. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. If there are no other questions, I'm going to go on the next part of my agenda. Police to represent their case. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. Suganthan, whilst I appreciate people are going through economic difficult times and you're wishing to extend your business hours, from a policing perspective, we do have concerns that 3 of the licensing principles are not really the full understanding is not quite there from your side. We are aware that the London Borough of Ealing, especially in your part of it, there is an issue with street drinkers. I'm aware from various S&T dealings, whilst they're not massive crimes, antisocial behaviour does occur in and around the corners there. So my concerns are that if we were to grant a 24/7 license, it would open the door for the businesses next to you, of which there's, I believe, a kebab shop, there's a chicken shop across the way. I think there is another off license to want to extend their hours, which would then lead in an increase in the impact with regards to late night loitering of people who are inebriated, drunk, leading to potential crime and disorder, public nuisance, and public safety for local residents. I'm also aware, with regards to the environment that you have your business in, there are flats at the top, houses nearby down the road, on the opposite side flats, with the alleyway next door. From my own policing experience, I am aware that people who live a transient lifestyle would utilize that as a place to either do their street drinking or whatever it is that their transient lifestyle leads to. I think, in terms of, whilst I understand your intentions of dealing with people politely and in a very honourable manner, I think it's somewhat naive to assume that just because if people are drunk, they will agree or deal with you when you are being polite with them, they will retort or reciprocate in a similar manner. In my experience, this is not always the case, and I think you would come off a lot worse in that scenario. So again, from a public safety for yourself, that is a concern for me with the 24/7 license and then extending of the alcohol license. I do understand that you are going through an economic difficult time, as you have mentioned, but I think with regards to the licensing objectives in terms of preventing crime and disorder, public nuisance and public safety in this moment in time, I think from a policing perspective, we have concerns that this may escalate. Especially, I think it's quite naive from your side to assume that the late night, whilst you've only been operating for the last 2 years,
Sorry,
within core element for you, and that is. Did I come through, Councillor? Chair, did I come through?
I didn't quite hear myself.
We lost you. We lost you, Sergeant.
We lost sound there for a moment. You might want to repeat yourself, please.
Okay, what was the last bit you heard, Chair? Forgive me. In short, Chair.
Your picture's crashed out as well, Dimitri.
Okay, Councillor. If I turn my video off, let's see if that works. Is that better?
I think that's better, actually.
Yeah, please.
Okay, I do apologise for that technical difficulty.
Let's try that.
Okay, so with regards to my concerns, whilst I appreciate you've been operating the business for the last 2 years in core hours, I think the late night business hours is an unknown entity for you, and I'm not satisfied with regards to your safety and safety of your punters and the impact it may have on the local community. Should this be granted, that it may have a negative effect, and that's from a police representation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. Before we go on to questions, I am going to ask the Noise Nuisance Officer, Mimi, to present your case as well, please.
Thank you, Chair. As stated in our presentations, our main concern is with regards to public nuisance. But I fully support what my colleague Sergeant Kassar said with regards to the crime and disorder. But going back to public nuisance, it will have a detrimental impact on nearby residents, and that includes from raised voices, for example, screaming and shouting, or people loitering outside the premises. And like I said earlier, it is very difficult to manage those situations where people had quite a bit of alcohol and then they go and get more alcohol. I appreciate what the applicant stated, that he will try and speak with them nicely, and he might resolve it after. But the problem when it comes to residents, if residents are sleeping, which are directly above the premises and within that parade of shops, they will be disturbed. They'll be woken up in the middle of the night. And yeah, the noise might be, I don't know, 2-3 minutes, but that's not the problem. The problem is they will be disturbed. And if it happens a few times a night or every single day, that's the main issue. It might not lead to, or it might lead to crime and disorder. But as I said, I'm only covering the public nuisance, but they could also lead to crime and disorder, and not necessarily public nuisance. And unfortunately, the applicant has not been able to provide any measures or explain in more detail what exactly he's going to do when those incidents occur, or apart from speaking nicely. And also, it might not even, it's quite difficult to put measures in place, especially when you have a 24-hour license and you have people at 4 a.m. Coming drunk and being just disorderly, not wanting to listen. It might not be his fault. He won't be able to control that regardless. And also, nearby residents, he might not know all the residents. He made reference that there are nice residents nearby, but if someone knows that there's a 24-hour license, off license nearby, they will take the bus or they take the local. They might be coming 10-15 minutes away just to buy some alcohol from that place if they're having a party somewhere else, and those are not going to be local residents, and he can't control that. I think that's, yeah, it's my representation is very similar to what the Sergeant said earlier. Yeah, mainly public nuisance and crime and disorder, and unfortunately, it's very difficult to control on a 24-hour license.
Okay. Thank you so much. Right, I am now going to invite questions from my team first to the responsible authorities. Councillor Ahmed, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Question to police. Do you have any crime data from this road, particularly from this road, not the whole area, from this road? And also question to Mimi, do you have any data of noise and nuisance from this particular road?
Councillor, sorry, Councillor Ahmed. Yeah, my colleague is busy trying to extrapolate data at this moment in time, but we are having IT issues at this moment in time. So at this stage, I don't have concrete evidence offered to you.
Not.
Please come back within a few moments as soon as you've got your data.
Thank you, Chair.
Mimi?
Yes, apologies. I was going to make reference to that earlier. Just bear with me for From what I'm aware, it's not from our team, but Safer Communities team. They have received complaints with regards to street drinking in that area. And antisocial behavior. I'm not sure if it's associated with that premises, but I was just looking at an email I received. There's a widespread street drinking reported to the Safer Communities team for that particular area.
No, I'm aware of the street drinking issue we have all over the borough, but I'm talking particularly about noise and nuisance point of view. Do you have any data?
So when it comes to street drinking and antisocial behavior caused by street drinking, that includes raised voices or people congregating, we do not deal with it. It goes to the Safer Communities team. That's why I made reference to the Safer Communities team. We deal with nuisance from a premises. So if people loitering on the street and we don't know where they reside, we are not able to take any action. Therefore, they get referred to the Safer Communities team.
So your answer is there's no data for noise and nuisance from the residents?
No, because we don't
Apologies, I'm going to
investigate.
interrupt here. I do apologies. I think I'm about to be thrown off. We may need to come back within a few minutes, and if you can turn off the live stream just for a few moments.
Will do.
May be able to delay it.
I did. It's come back again.
Keep delaying. I think you can delay again.
Yes. But I'm just forewarning you. That's all.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So, Mimi, shall I take it as that you don't have any data on noise and nuisance, particularly any complaint from residents so far?
It's not that we don't have data. We do not investigate. If there are issues with street drinking, then as I said, I think.
Yeah. If I could pause.
I'll stop. I'll talk after. No worries. Thank you.
I'm gonna stop the live stream now. I'll bring everyone out of the room except from the panel, and we'll resume.